Welcome to Kerah Speaks, where the truth runs deep. Faithful, healed, and free. Real talk, real growth. Let the Spirit speak, stories that set you free. Becoming who you're meant to be. Welcome to the conversation. Kerah Speaks.
Welcome back to another episode of Kerah Speaks. I'm your host, Kerah. I want to thank you all who are subscribed and who follows the podcast. I really appreciate every single one of you all who listen every single week. I am practicing gratitude. I'm practicing appreciating what I have, stewarding what I have now, because I can't receive what Yahweh has planned for me if I don't appreciate every single person that listens now. I appreciate from the first to the 139th person who subscribed to the YouTube channel. And I will appreciate every single one who comes along the way, even when I get to 1,000 or 100,000. So I'm practicing gratitude. And I really thank you all for taking the time to just listen, because you don't have to. You don't have to. And I use these videos, I use these episodes as a place to reflect and share what I have learned, share the truth as I have come to learn about it. The things that I talk about here is just based on my experiences. I'm not a professional. I have to keep saying that. Listen, y'all, I am not a professional. I have no license in mental health. I am just a regular human being who go through the same things that everybody else go through. And I'm just sharing my experiences. I lived it. I learned it. And I'm sharing and I'm offering from a place of clarity, in hopes that somebody who may have gone through a friendship breakup, who may have gone through therapy, can feel seen and be like, oh, I went through that too. And I feel these same things, because this podcast is really about sharing, building a community and sharing experiences so we all can feel seen, heard, and understood, So today we're just going to go ahead and get into the episode. And today we're going to be talking about what is healing? What is being healed? My whole brand is about being faithful, healed, and free. But what is that? Sometimes that can, activate something in somebody when you say that you're healed. Healed? Who do you think you are to be healed? What do you mean you healed? And it starts making you compare yourself to somebody who says they're healed. Well, if they're healed, what does that make me? That's only a question that you can answer for yourself. But for me, I can only tell you what healing looks like and what it feels like for me. Being healed for me, in my opinion, from my perspective, is layered. There are areas where I am healed. There are areas where I am healing. And there are areas where I am going to continue to heal. I think that I continue to heal certain areas of myself every day, every single day. And I am thankful every time I get to peel back a layer of healing. And, it's a question. It's only knowing what healed is for you is only something that you can answer. It is not anything that somebody can put on you. It is not anything that somebody can tell you that you are not. Because people will question your healing. And they will question, especially when you have gone through something and you've done a lot of work, right? And you've transformed and transitioned into this new person. People who don't have access to the new version of you are only going to know you by who you were. Okay? So they're going to measure your healing based off who you were. So they're going to say, oh, no, you're not healed because I remember when you did X, Y, and Z. Right? I remember when you said this and when you said that. You ain't healed because I know the real you. Well, you might know the old version of Kerah, but you don't know me today. And I reserve that version for people who are aligned with me. And so I don't feel the need to prove my healing to anybody who used to know me or who knows me now. I say when I'm healed. And also, my therapist, my former therapist, I didn't graduate therapy for no reason. Okay. That is something to celebrate. not something to brag about, but something to feel good about, because that's an accomplishment. Do you know what finishing therapy means? That means, and let me say, I didn't finish therapy like I decided that I was going to leave. Like, I'm done with therapy. That was not my decision. I mean, it was a collaborative, it was a mutual decision, but it was something that my therapist suggested to me. And I, we evaluated, we talked about it, and we went over, and I was like, you know what? Yeah. And so it was a place of completion. So I didn't just complete therapy. I graduated from therapy. I grew. And that's something that I'm going to celebrate. And that's not something I'm going to let anybody take away from me. Nobody gets to take that away from me and tell me whether I'm healed or not. But again, it's not about what other people's opinions are. So, and being healed is not about like never getting triggered, everything going according to plan, nothing ever being wrong. It has nothing to do with that. Being healed for me just simply means that I am in charge of my emotions. I am in charge of the triggers. My triggers don't run me, okay? My emotions don't control me. I control my emotions. Being healed doesn't mean that I don't feel tension. A trigger for me is when I'm expressing how I feel, is when somebody dismisses me or minimizes what I feel. I still feel the tension in my body. I still feel it. I still feel the pull to want the validation from people. I still feel the pull of wanting people to understand me. But the healed version of me knows that I get to make a choice on whether I act on that emotion or whether I act on that pull. So when that feeling comes up or I'm being dismissed, I get to choose, like, what am I going to do in this moment? Am I going to react by shutting down and getting upset because they dismissing me and labeling them as a bad person? Or do I get to say, you know what? It's not my job to convince them of how I feel. My only job is to communicate clearly and set firm boundaries. That's the choice I get to make. It doesn't mean that the feeling goes away. It just means I get to make a choice about how I'm going to show up in that moment. And that's what it's about. It's about choosing differently, right? So I celebrate my milestones of healing. I celebrate when I show up as my full self, especially in moments of conflict. I am more aware before I act on my emotions, like in real time. Like that was one of the things that that was a desire for me. That was something that was in my heart. Like I want to be able to react from a regulated place in the moment. I don't want to have a delayed processing moment and then coming back to the conversation to rehash. I want to be so regulated and so steady in myself that I would be able to regulate in the moment and communicate what I need in the moment from a calm place. Because I didn't do that before when I was unhealed. And so being able to do that in the moment, even when I feel tension, but being able to communicate from a healthy place, that feels so good to be able to do. And it's kind of like tests, right? It's kind of like little tests. And relationally speaking, like when I'm, having conflict with people or just having a conversation where we might disagree or where I might have to just communicate how I feel like I'm kind of being tested gradually about where I am in my healing. It's my own personal barometer. And I'm thankful that I'm not being tested all at once, because when I finished therapy, I remember thinking like, man, I wish, I can redo all those scenarios from my healed place to see where I was, to see how I would react differently. But I know that's impossible. I can't redo all the things that I've gone through to see how I reacted differently. I can only, prepare for the future, because there are going to be times where I get activated. There are going to be times of conflict where it's time to have some resolution, and I'm going to have to be able to respond from a healthy place. And I didn't want to brace for those things. That's what I used to do before. I used to brace for conflict or brace for some tension. But now I don't do that anymore. I just know that I'm going to show up from a healthy place because I've done the work and I continue to do the work. So, I'm not anticipating freezing, because that's my response was not fight or flight, it was freeze. And that's why I was, really praying to be able to regulate in the moment and not just freeze. And that comes from also, getting braver and more unapologetic in my healing. I'm braver to speak up for myself. I'm braver or I'm getting braver in asking for what I need, not feeling small when I want something from somebody, when I need something from somebody. And I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my authority over my story, my narrative, who I am, not who people perceive me to be, not who they have decided I am, but who I am. I don't have to bend to people's expectations. I am who I am. I was always very secure in who I was before, but now it's just like, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. Like, I'm a deep person. I like asking questions. I like exploring the deepest parts of myself, and I expect people to be curious about me, and I don't apologize for that. Another thing that I have adjusted is in my healing is I don't seek deep connection with everybody. I used to think that if I was going to have a friend, that every friendship had to be deep. Every friendship had to be like, we got to know each other on the deepest level in order for us to connect. Now, I do value depth, but when it comes to being in community with me, that's not required anymore. Now, that doesn't mean that we are going to, be like that, because, I am about intentionality. And if you want to be, in my community, like, you want to be close to me, that's a little different. I got different expectations, but that's also communicated. But now, I just don't feel the need to connect so deep with people anymore, especially if that person's already shown me that they can't meet me there. That's okay. I am open to finding community that can meet me in those deep places. Like, I know that one person can't be my everything, so I get to spread that love around. I allow multiple different types of people to love me. So that's the healed version of Kerah. That's what I have learned about myself. That's where I have grown and am growing. And that's the life. That's what healing looks like for me. Faithful, healed, and free is not just a slogan. It is what I embody, is what I live, is who I am. That's it. So if you like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts and anywhere that you can stream podcasts. It's Kerah Speaks, the podcast. Also go to kerahspeaks.com to get my new book, Healing Costs Me Everything. If you ever lost a friendship, if you ever lost yourself, you are going to love this book, because it's about clarity. It's about finding yourself and walking in your purpose. So go ahead and check it out, and I'll see y'all next time right here on Kerah Speaks, where we live faithful, healed, and free. I'll talk to y'all later.
I just dropped new shirts, and the message is simple: faithful, healed, free. This is for anybody whose faith has carried them through something they didn't think they would make it out of. For anybody who had to heal and come out brand new on the other side. Now you're walking in freedom. Freedom from anything that once had you down. Freedom from relationships. Freedom from situations you thought you wouldn't survive, but you did. And now you don't even look like what you've been through. This is more than a shirt. This is your story. So wear your story. Share your story. Let it be a declaration that you are healed through His grace. And you are free. Faithful, healed, free.